A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archi's Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archi's, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archi's. Code your future.
Hey, hello everyone. Hey Heather, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Tofi?
I'm doing good as well here. So, uh, it's morning there. It's evening in some part of the world, and it's late afternoon where I am at. So let me introduce myself. My name is Tofi. I'm CEO and founder of Archie's Academy. For everybody around the world, namaskaram, namaskar, oshkaldines. And well, I have an amazing guest today along with me as a mentor who is coming from Red Hat. Her name is Heather. Hey Heather, it's been a very long time. I haven't seen you. So, well, welcome to Archie's Academy. And how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm super excited to meet your class and all the people that you're working with. Um, I used to work with Tofi at a software company a few years back. You're looking about the same though, so
Yes.
it's good to see you happy and healthy.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I know that we have been worked along together, and I can't express my happiness that, like, even after so long, we are just catching up for the first time on a live here. And it's like, okay, we kicked out like where we left off, and here we go. That starts the conversation. I'm really happy that you accept this and came forward to talk about, especially that today's topic is about mom, women, and how we can impact our experience to bring the people back to the workforce, and how we can motivate, how we can empower the community to have an amazing gender equality, or it's pretty much there's a need of equality in terms of in software tech that pretty much everybody knows it. And the way how I see is that to bring back moms, especially who took career break, back to the workforce. So that's the topic for today, and we will be discussing throughout this meeting. To start with, could you please tell about like how you've been lately? I know that we worked together a few years ago. Now after that, you joined Red Hat. How the things going on with you?
So I joined Red Hat in July of 2019. and I took a people manager position, managing in engineers. So part of my everyday was doing the hiring for new engineers coming into the community, and then helping. My engineers were mostly kind of the entry level. So I was getting to see a lot of people that were coming in with varied experience. Some people had, 6 years of education. Some people had taught themselves Linux. One of my best engineers actually has done no school, and he is just a Linux guru. He loves anything and everything Linux, and he eats it all up, and he's self-trained, and he does some amazing work. So I've been working with Red Hat to help build a good support system with the engineers there. Recently, I actually have been promoted in the company, and now I manage. Thank you. I manage associate managers at Red Hat. So I'm guiding them on how do we want to hire, what do we want to target as far as talent coming in, and then how do we want to support that talent. That's one of my biggest things that I'm passionate about, and I'm currently on a maternity leave right now. Thank you. I just had my second son June 1st. And so when I get back from maternity leave, one of the things that we are really targeting is how do we support new hires coming in, whatever their level is, whether they have 3 master's degrees or they have 0 education and they worked at a Best Buy for a little bit. How do we support new moms coming in? What kind of training do we need to provide? What kind of training do we expect them to have already had before they come to us, which is something that your company is really targeting, and it's a beautiful thing. And then on top of that, how do we build a community post-COVID? Because able to learn, or the ability to learn, I really truly believe you have to lean on your new coworkers. You have to lean on your manager. You have to lean on your team lead. And without having those personal face-to-face interactions, which we don't have right now because we're still that hybrid where we're in office, we're not in office, we're work from home, we're spread out through the whole country now. I mean, we're headquartered in North Carolina, but I work out of Denver, Colorado. And we've got people in California. We have people up in Canada. We have people in India. We have people in Australia. So how do we bring all those people together and build that community? So those are kind of the things that are on my mind as I head back from maternity leave.
Well, first of all, again, congratulations on the second one. We have a quite that we have some personal connections as well. On dates, that you already know it. You touched a various number of points there. First and foremost, you started people manager. Well, that is something most companies don't use it, and me when I was working previous organization as well, how much people manager I was. And I mean, I'm still but in a various form I have to take up my role in a different way right now. But it's very much important that to work with people, and ultimately we need to understand them and how to nurture them. And it's take a big toll on you to make sure you hire the right candidate and get them nurtured to make sure they are retained enough to make sure they are working in a one direction of what the organization wants. So that's a huge responsibility on your part. And how do you balance that along with your life? Because what I'm talking about, personally, I can connect with you because a lot of emotions are there. You need to feel emotionally bound with a person to make sure they succeed. If it was not the case, then you won't be a people manager. That's the only thing which we can make sure. But that can affect your life as well. And how do you balance that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So one, a lot of our people managers at Red Hat are sourced from outside the company and come with people skills. But we do have a balance of engineers who show leadership potential that we cultivate into people managers. And I would say the difference between maintaining a career path as an engineer and becoming a people manager is the want and the willingness to develop people. And if you don't have that desire, then people management is probably not for you. And that's okay. It's not for everybody. It can be very stressful, and it can be emotionally impacting. If you have an employee that's struggling and you care so much and you want to see that employee succeed, but you know they're hitting the roadblocks, even if you're setting them up for success, maybe they have something personal in their life that they can't get beyond, or maybe there is a technology blocker for them, and you're going to have to help build that time with them to be able to focus on that. You take on their emotions, right?
Yep.
And so for me personally, what has worked for me is a lot of compartmentalization. I have a very strong, very strict work-life balance list that I adhere to and I follow. If I am at work, which is Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever my schedule is, I'm at work. I am not thinking of my family. I am in my office. I am focused on my employees. On the weekends, I will still answer messages. Obviously, as a manager, your time is not 100% gone.
Yep.
But I'm not sitting and thinking about that. That's work day. I have to think about that through work. On the weekends, I want to prioritize my family and prioritize what my sons are doing. I would also say a lot of it is taking care of my mental health. So I'm a huge proponent of therapy. I think that especially for women in the workplace, we have a lot stacked up against us. Having an outlet and having somebody to talk to that's a safe space is really, really, really beneficial and really helpful. So Red Hat luckily provides a great insurance plan, and we have therapy services. So if you work for a company that has those, or if you find a company that has those benefits, I would say lean into them. But being able to talk through with a safe person on how I'm feeling helps me better strategize how I'm going to approach that employee if they're emotionally distressed. And then I can usually give some kind of balance and some kind of help in our one-on-one that might help direct them as well.
True. I mean, it's a very very valid situation at this point of time, especially after COVID hits. Okay, the 2 years of if you're a people person, you probably like to go to office one way or another. Okay, that's one thing, because I loved working in the office, and suddenly, and then we used to have a good time when we are in the office. We used to have work at the same time. There's a time where we can have personally connected and things like that. But being that, what you said just now, the mental health, leaning towards somebody who you really wants to make sure that you are safe enough to, you are bound with other people's emotions, because you are kind of taking their pain and trying to resolve it. Sometimes you get stressed out because of even after you've given all the effort which you want to give, but sometimes it's not succeeding the right path. So that's a kind of a thing which absolutely I agree with you in terms of, you need to have a way to balance it out in giving the right mental health guidance. Is definitely just like other health, like physical health or anything, mental health has to be given priority as well. I have other question, is that what are the advices which you want to give to especially the career breakers? Because you mentioned that Red Hat does not really care about, to be honest, whether you're coming from different background. That's forward thinking, because in software technology, right now, it's not like, oh, you have to get a diploma or a degree 4 years, in order to get a job. That's not really the thing which you don't need it, to be honest. In certain ways, I mean, there are reasons which you might need, but in a way, to get a job, you don't really require. You need skills which is attached to it. And I'm glad that Red Hat is such a forward-thinking company, that as long as you have the right people who have been trained good enough, boom, you can do the job. That's all it matters. For me, especially here, what I have is that my academy is built on that particular motto, where you are focused on your skill building rather than degree. It doesn't matter whether you are like a 15-year-old or a 50-year-old or 60-year-old. You can always start at some point of time, as long as you have that determination to start consistently putting that effort to make sure you end up in a goal. So what's the advice which you want to give for a career breakers, especially mom, who took like maybe 5 to 7 years to look after their kids, or certain reasons? There are several reasons around the world. If they want to come back, what kind of a few advices based on your experience you want to give?
So for me, I look at everything I do as I am putting my time, my effort, and my passion into it, whether it's in my personal life or my work life. So I'm bringing to my career a strong desire to work and a strong passion, and I value whatever company I'm aligning my time with. So for me, I expect that company to value my time as well. For me, a huge career breaker would be somebody who would not be flexible, or a company that would not be understanding. And I understand not everybody starting out has that luxury, like that, that some people, the only kind of job you can get is something scheduled. But if you have the ability and comfortability to look around and find a job, I would say find something that aligns with your ideals and with your moral compass, and a company that allows for supporting whatever your situation is, whether it's, you're married to somebody who works during the day and you could work a night shift. That's great. Find that. Or you're a single mom and you need flexibility in your day to day, and this job is like, hey, just get your project done. It doesn't matter what time you're here. We just need you to be able to hit your project goals. Okay, that's great. If she has a kid sick, she can work around that. So do your research, find the jobs that are out there that are going to align with how you can work best. Not everybody works the same way.
Yeah.
I also really wanted to work for a company that valued humans. At Red Hat, employees are not a number. They are a human entity. Everybody has a personality. Everybody is a little bit different. Red Hat is extremely forward-thinking and supportive in all things LGBTQ+. We also are holding neurodiversity classes on how to manage people that are ND or neurodivergent. We want to be able to support people on the autism spectrum. So there's just so many different things that we are focusing on outside of this is just technology. This is just software that we're selling. We truly believe that if you take a person and you give them the training that they need. Now, I do believe that everybody has you either have a passion to be able to pursue the technology career path, or you don't. And if you're passionate, you can teach yourself, you can learn, you can put the time in. And we at Red Hat, we set you up with the skills. People like you, Tofi, set people up with the skills. Somebody has to have that underlying passion and that interest. But if you have that, you can be taught that. You don't need that 4-year education. Exactly. And then we believe that you take that person, you put those hours of training in, you invest in them, you support them in all things work-life balance. You make sure that their mental health is taken care of. You make sure if they're sick, they're taking their sick days. You make sure that you're asking, Hey, are you comfortable? Hey, are we putting too much on you? Hey, do you need a break? Hey, would you like to pursue this project because it's a little more interesting?
Right.
Um, and so, with that open line of communication, we don't build employees that stay for a little bit. We build employees
True.
that stay for life.
Right. I mean, it's like, what I can relate to is that it's more or like what I'm trying to do within my short space of thing, with the people who are actually working in Archie's Academy very well knows that, um, the way how we work, because we have moms in our academy who is working, and um, they are like coming from, like, I never asked their, hey, do you have a degree, sir? In fact, I never asked anybody who have hired in my, like, as an employee who is working for academy. I never asked anybody's certificate till now. I never looked upon their diploma till now, whether or not they graduated or not. I haven't looked anybody's certificate till now. And the most important value which I give is that when you trust them, and when you give them the right amount of freedom enough to say that, like, invest in them, they give back. And what I see is that they I want to make sure they work for a lifetime, as you said, whatever till retirement, where they can build that life along with it, happiness, like, how a person can be happy while working. There are several ways: growth with technologies, growth with financial, growth with certain things. But it's very important that you need to understand and grow it. And it's also the employee's responsibility the other way around also. They need to think, as you are saying here, I can see the compassion, I can see the passion towards Red Hat from you, so that you put that effort back to them, that I am a ambassador for Red Hat, and I'll uphold the virtue, and I'll uphold the mission, and that I can see in you. And the same thing, the others also have to take care of it. So I'm happy that, like, in a way, that you are the mentor right now who is coming and giving that, the same value which I also uphold. And probably, if things goes well, we have enough people in the US where we can refer to Red Hat in a way that, we can get them hired. Possibly you can be the manager, and, like, that's what I'm looking forward to. So, and my next question is very well valid at the current situation. I know that, like, you have the second kid right now, just had. What all are the barriers with that you have been faced as a mom during the work life, especially during this last couple of years where you have to be adjusted or readjusted? I know that Sam is amazing person. I know he would be helping you. I really know that how good he is. But being a person, as being a mom, how did you able to cope up with it?
So quite a few different things. One, Sam's my husband.
Yep.
He is an amazing partner, and we communicate very openly. So during COVID, daycare was shut down so much, like so often, and every time it would shut down, it would be out for 2 weeks.
Right.
So I think there was a 6-month period there where we basically just had Emmett at home, and we were trying to work around that. So because I'm very lucky and I had a husband where I was like, hey, I have meetings from 6 a.m. until 1 p.m. He basically would watch Emmett while I was doing my meetings. And then I told work, I will follow up my administrative work later in the evening when my son's in bed. And
Right.
they were fine with that. So a lot of it was communication with my partner. A lot of it was communication with my boss.
Right.
I keep a very, very open line of communication with whoever is my manager at the time and my coworkers. Actually, one of the things on my list of like work-life balance, I have 10 things that I have listed out that I really adhere to. But one of them is building a support system. And that's not just a support system outside of work, which is what you think of when you think of support system. You think, oh, my mom might help with the kids, or my sister, or my husband, right? But I build a support system within work too. I have a support system of 2 to 3 coworkers who
Right.
I lean on very hard. And so if for some reason I know that I'm not going to be able to run a meeting, or I might not be able to be in an interview, or I might not be able to get something finished by a deadline because life happens and I'm stuck with my kids here and everything's crazy, I can reach out to that coworker and I said, hey, I've got the notes here. You can find them. Please let me know if you have questions, but can you run this for me? Being able to build a support system within work helped me be able to navigate the intricacies of COVID. On top of all of that, it was incredibly stressful. So I wanted to make sure that I was taking care of myself mentally so that when I was getting things thrown at me, I could be flexible without being stressed out, right?
True.
And for me, that's just taking care of my health mentally, physically, going for walks, reading a book, unplugging, getting away from the computer. We look at computers 8 to 12 hours a day for work. You may be on camera, you may be talking to somebody, you may be coding, you may be trying to learn something new. All that screen time for me, I needed to break it up. So
Right.
whether that was painting, I got into candle and soap making for a little bit during COVID, just to
Well, good for you.
try different things to keep from going crazy. Just something to put my mind to that wasn't a screen and a keyboard.
Wonderful. Like, I mean, it really helped to understand the things which you might didn't know it before. That, like, that's where, like, you see the positive out of something where you hit, unfortunately, like, things happen with the COVID, etc. Now things getting back to the normal life in one way or another. That's great, like, in terms of how things goes. For here, like in Archie's Academy, where the reason, I mean, of me concentrating, especially the mom, it's of a personal reason. Because when I was a kid, basically, when, like, my dad was the only person who used to work back in India, where there is a stigma around it, mostly during that period of time, where the guys will be the, like, the men, only the breadwinner, they are the people who goes out work, and the women usually be the homemaker. The things has changed right now because we have to have both way. But this, the value which I want to put it out there in terms of bringing moms to the workforce, it's kind of personally attached, where my mom used to say that I wish I had some salary where I could buy something for you. I know that it's coming out of where that she's dependent of my dad to ask even money, maybe, like, during that period of time I didn't know because I'm not that old enough. But that's kind of a, subconscious things which comes to your head, that you have to give back to the community what you know, and then that knowledge is passed towards, without, like, obviously we have to take care of, as a business, Vachu's Academy have to take care of various things, but at the end of the day, why we have to do it. So it's basically bringing back that human element which I used to have personally, bringing back the mom to the workforce, is that now, especially in the US. Let's talk about in the US. All right, so in the US we have a lot of, first of all, Red Hat supports various, like LGBTQ plus, or different religions, different way how the people look. That's the inclusiveness what we required in every company. All right, not everybody, I mean, even though there's a lot of movement it's happening right now, but I know that it's not the case with every company on US or in the world. Okay, um, that's inclusiveness helps us to bring back a lot of people who have been not able to achieve their full potential. So what are we doing in terms of, let's say, for training, especially single moms, Black community, Latino community, or the people who are kind of minorities, what do you call it? So is there any kind of special training, veterans, for example, or seniors? I can give you a lot of different types, because that's where I focus on. Because some people might be retired senior citizens, but they want to work because economy is so bad. and they are okay to work. It's not like, okay, I retired, I can sit somewhere. Maybe some of them are okay, but there are huge people who wants to come back and work. So what is Red Hat secret sauce of doing it? Like, if you have anything which you can spread.
So we have first of all, we don't have training for everybody set up specifically.
Okay.
Veterans is an area that I would not have even thought to target. So I think that's great that you mentioned it, because I'm going to go back and think about that. We do training young. Like, we start fairly young. We do have a bus that goes into inner city communities to do a Girls with Code kind of thing,
Okay.
where we target girls. I think it's between like the ages 8 and 16, and give them basic like Linux skills and training.
Good.
So that's one of the places where we do an outreach.
Okay.
And I think the belief system there is, if you're targeting girls young in STEM, you're going to build that passion, because we are told, and I was told this too when I was a kid, that computers and technology are for boys.
Right.
And that's not a girl thing to do. And we want to break that stigma. Red Hat does have more female employees than I've ever worked with before. And it's still not as many as you would hope to see. And some of that is we just don't have the female applicants. So how do we better target female applicants? How do we better recruit? Because there's women out there in school. There's women out there in programs like yours. And that's one of the big outreaches that we really need to focus on as a company. As far as what training we have once you start, everything. Part of the benefit of working for Red Hat is we give you the first 90 days of your career to just focus on studying and getting certified in our RHCSA and our RHCE, which are the two certifications that really help us move forward into the entry-level engineering support, right? And then from there, you can get any certification. And we have a Red Hat Academy that you can get resources from. You have mentors that you can work with. If you're a woman and you feel more comfortable working with females, we have some really great, strong female mentors and support. We have a great support system once you've got your foot in the door.
True.
It's outside of getting your foot in the door that I truly believe we were focusing on a lot before COVID, and we probably need to be refocusing on post-COVID.
Yep, true. I mean, like, that the one thing which you said, yeah, you're right. Like, in most part of the world, it's still the case that our computer is kind of the male oriented or boy oriented stuff, which they're, or if you are a woman or a girl, you are towards like the kitchen or things like that. That would be the way how to go in, mostly because in Archi's Academy, we have trainees from almost 30 plus countries at this point of time. So we are globally diverse from different countries like Central Asia, African countries, etc. So like, we have so many people around the world. So I know that that's still the case in some countries where technology means, like, especially the software technology is like kind of a male oriented job, but that has to be changed in one way or another. And we have a program too internally, which is known as She Leads by Archi's Academy, meaning that we empower women, girls in STEM very early, which we want to make sure. So it's kind of, again, in line with what we are also doing in terms of offline events and things like that, where we want to build that through in such a way that we can promote this. So I'm happy that, like, if in the future this discussion can open up a various different possibilities where Archie's Academy can be one of those, like, we can talk about it, how that works out. But I'm really happy that we are also working in the same direction, same goal towards how we can bring up more people into this. With that being said, that, like, I mean, I would like to take some questions from the trainees or people who are listening to. So it would be great, like, if you have a questions to pop up in our screen. Usually it comes in the screen. Okay, so there's first question. We have Surmi from Archie's Academy, which is the question: do you feel sometimes guilty that not able to pay so much attention to the child when we have more involved in work? How can we overcome that situation? So that's the question from Surmi.
So mom guilt is real. It's a real thing. Whether, it's over breastfeeding versus bottle feeding or how much screen time a child has. So you're inundated with mom guilt throughout your entire motherhood. The work part is also there. It's a nagging in the back of my mind. Sometimes I'm like, hey, am I spending too much time at work and not enough with my child? One of the things that I would say I justify is that he's in school. He's got a great preschool program, which, because I work, it is able to provide him with a good school education. And then just really focusing on, during the off time, how do I make up and focus my time with him? He's being socialized with other kids when he's at school, which is needed. He's learning his numbers and his ABCs probably better than I could teach him, because I'm not a teacher. I'm a people manager. The teachers at his school are educated in how to teach, right? And then when we're home, we are reading books and we get to play outside and we are going on adventures in the mountains here. So it is hard, and it's something that I don't think you ever don't feel that guilt from time to time. I think it's just a guilt feeling that you kind of live with. But at the end of the day, if I was home with him all day, I truly believe that I take so much from what I do in my career, and I love what I do, and I love my energy, and I love my passion. And I think that I will be able to show both my sons how to live a passionate and fulfilling life through the work that I do every day. If I'm home with them all day and I'm sad because I'm not able to put that energy in, I think they would see that sadness. So I think you have to do a balance of what is going to make you happy and what's going to make your family happy. For me, the amount that I work and the amount I balance the boys seems to be working for us right now.
Amazing. Like, and you are right. Like, there are, especially right now, you need to think about the breastfeeding, the bottle feeding, and then you have the first kid, which is going to be like, whether or not have more screen time or not. So all this matters a lot in terms of the and plus when you have a responsibility on your head that you have to take care of it. So it's a thing. I mean, I really appreciate, like, and also, like, I'm so happy that you are or thinking good, incomplete enough to say that you're a good mom at the same time, an awesome manager also. So, like, really happy for that. Do we have any other next question? Okay, so we have Kirti joining, and then, is it possible to get into Red Hat without any experience? I think you kind of said you need to specify what is experience as well. I can rephrase that sentence in a way which I can interpret: without experience, in the sense, like, with never worked in a company before but has a certain skills attached to it. So that's what would be the question.
Actually, so that's actually a great question. One of the things that I addressed before I went on maternity leave was how do we bring young talent in? And this could be two examples, right? We've got our person who had 4 years of education in computer science and they have a degree, but they have no work experience at all.
Right.
Like maybe they worked at Jimmy John's and made some sandwiches,
Right.
right? Or we have our guy who has been working sysadmin jobs for like 6 or 7 years, or maybe even 4 or 5 years, but has no education. Like
Right.
he's completely self-taught. So with both of these guys, what do we do? Right? So when we're doing our interview process, we put you through the ringer and
Mhm.
you will talk to 2 different managers right away. Then you talk to about 3 engineers. The engineers vet you and they will start your technical questions pretty low with like, what is root? Or can you sudo, and then they build up based on what your answer is and go as hard as they can.
Mhm.
We have had some people where the engineers like them and the engineers are like, gosh, that kid, he is just so young and he's so green, but he could learn. I know he could. So I added a layer to our interview process for these off cases, right? These cases where we don't know what their experience really is. We need to know if they can learn because they're going to have to come in and they're going to have to get 2 certifications to be able to work with me, right? I send homework home, and the homework is taking, it's just a 1-page assignment, and it's basically having people build virtual machines in a Red Hat environment, link them together, and do a couple different tasks.
Right.
There's no other instructions. There's no support or like help. So you have to know how to Google. You have to know how to get onto a Reddit Linux thread and ask questions. You need to know how to use the Linux community to your advantage. But if you can use your resources and you can put this together and come back and you don't have to make it work to get
Just
the job.
show that try what you have done.
You have to
Exactly.
exactly. It doesn't have to work because sometimes there's factors that make it so it can't work. Like there's networking. We've seen networking issues cause such bad problems that they can't get it working over the weekend. And all I want to do is I want to see the work that you did. And I want you to explain to me what roadblocks you hit. And then what did you do to try to get around those roadblocks, right?
Right.
If your answer is, oh, I hit a roadblock and I gave up, well, I don't think you're going to be the right fit. But if it's, I hit this roadblock, I asked the community, I have this one friend, he's like been in IT for 50 years. So I asked him if he might know, and he said he thinks it's this. That's all the answers that I want. I want to see how your mind works, and I want to see that you have that passion. So no, I don't think you have to have the experience. I have hired people with 0 work experience. I've hired people with 0 education, but all of them have had a passion to figure it out, teach themselves, and learn.
Absolutely. I mean, this reminds me of the movie Pursuit of Happiness, where Will Smith is coming in with the interview, where they ask the questions, like, the reply is like, I'm that kind of a guy. Even if I don't know the answer, I'll go make sure that I go find the answer and come back to you. So that's what we require. Like, in the interview process itself, like, there are 2 types of interviews, right? One is like pure coding interview in terms of, let's say, in Amazon or other places, because the way how they filter is that they get a lot of applications, and how are they gonna put out the filtering process to see that whether or not this person knows something, and they put a rigorous first round coding interview, which they have to do it in certain way. And what you just now said is that it's a practical, viable interview process where that this person is something which we can work along with you for quite some time, because you may have 1 hour with the person, or maybe 2 hours with the person, to decide whether or not you can work with. But sometimes it may go right, sometimes it goes south. And how can you make that decision in a way that which bounds with you. Okay, this person is like, they know what they're doing. At least they try to solve it what they are trying to do. So that's exactly the way how I earlier mentioned. So far have hired several people. Till date, I never asked anybody what's their formal education they have graduated it. Sometimes I have to ask, like, only because of the visas comes into the picture, especially if you are an immigrant of a different country. You probably need to bound with the visa which required the formal education, but that's not something which, like, with respect to the company may not require you need to have a diploma or not, or whether or not an experience or not. But if you are an immigrant, that's also I want to add to the point which you just now you early said. Like, for example, in the States, as long as you are a US citizen or a green card holder, you don't mind what you can work or you can hire if the talented people are there. But that may not be the exact scenario if you are an immigrant from another country in a visa, or like in a non-immigrant visa, etc. You need to have that formal education because that's a visa bound. Otherwise you can't stay in the States. That's not with the organization, like for example Red Hat is thinking. So there is a two different ways you need to understand. So that's also, I just, because I have dealt with enough people in my past and right now also, so I have gone through various things. So thanks for clarifying, Heather, that one. So do we have more questions coming through? Okay, so I'm going through one more question. Ashwati here from India. How can we handle stress interviews? Okay, so you're a people manager, so you would take interviews. There you go. So
Yeah, I mean, so hiring is my favorite part of the job. I
right.
I absolutely love hiring. And I have very strong feelings on the interview process. I think that a lot of the interview processes out there are pretty antiquated
Mhm.
and need to be changed. I also believe that it's on the hiring managers
Mhm.
to create a less stressful environment
True.
and make you feel comfortable. But that's idealistic. You're going to go through interviews where you're sitting in front of a group of stone-faced men and women who are giving you nothing and not breaking the ice. So how do you, as the interviewee, deal with that? For me, when I'm actually interviewing, like going through interviews to find a new job, I practice. I do a lot of practicing before. I know basically most of the questions that get asked in an interview at this point. You can Google like top 10 questions asked in IT interviews. If you're curious to see what a lot of managers ask, they're going to ask a variation of what you're seeing online. And I would practice with my husband. I'd sit down face to face, make eye contact the whole time because it's uncomfortable to just like stare at somebody. So that already gets you kind of out of your comfort zone. And then I would have him ask me questions. I would try to answer them. And I'd have him, well, he naturally likes to poke holes in whatever I say. So
Right.
he would poke holes and then I'd have to kind of defend myself. That way, if I got into an interview with somebody who was really cool, it's fine. I'm ready. If I got into an interview with somebody who might be a little more stiff and just straight asking me questions, again, I'm ready to at least give educated responses. The other thing that I think in interviews, and this is something that I love to see from my people, find something that you're passionate about that you can talk on. If they're asking you about a project, it doesn't have to be a project that you've done at work. It can be a project that you're doing on the side. So if you have something that you're passionate about that you're working on, walk them through it and let your personality shine through, let your passion shine through. A lot of companies are wanting to hire somebody that they're going to work with, right?
Right.
We're not just hiring some hands that are going to be coding, and we're not just hiring a brain that's going to be working. We're hiring somebody who we're going to have coffee with, who we're going to chat with about our children, who we might invite to each other's weddings at some point. We're hiring somebody that is going to be an essential part of our day to day. So we want to see that personality shine through. And I think that if you can give some of your personality, that will decrease some of the stress, because you might get some of the personality from the person interviewing you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the just adding to the point which just now you said is that me as a person have taken, you probably know that I have taken enough interviews as a hiring manager when I was working in the previous organization. I still do, but nowadays I kind of go with the person who might I already either trained, or sometimes I put up a request where kind of not go through the coding interviews as such, but like giving the homeworks and stuff like that. That helps to see whether or not this person is fit for me. And in the interviews also, like, making sure that you are comfortable to solve the problem, because the stress is real, and sometimes you can't really answer it everything what you want to say in that brief 1 hour, and that's going to be causing a problem. So it's very much making comfortable is an important part. Me as a manager who always try to do it in an interview. The other thing is that, like, the thing which you just now said, you are not going to be working with a person who just want to be behind your keyboards, or you're going to work with the people who going to, like you said, have a coffee with, have have to visit your kids and play with them, etc. So how are we going to deal with that? And being a manager, how do you really manage that through together with your employees? How do you do that? Like, because there is a level which everybody has to put across, and sometimes being over friendly can also be a problem, because I mean, cultural differences, versus, there are things which come across in my past which kind of brought in some issues as well. That's why I'm saying, because of me being worked in the lot in the US, there is no issues. But as you said, like, how are you dealing with those kind of scenarios?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's a life lesson that I really had to learn. Because I would say at Wolfram, when I worked with you, I probably was a little over friendly with my employees
Yeah,
as well.
me too. Yeah.
And it was a very, very casual environment. And so
Yeah.
moving to Red Hat, it isn't that casual. Like, I'm not going to have my employee come to my wedding at Red Hat. I will have coffee with my engineers and use that as a great time to have a one-on-one, have Red Hat pay for the coffee, and we can bond. So it's determining where you want that work-life balance and that employee to manager relationship
True.
to deviate. And at the end of the day, the unfortunate part of being a manager is, yes, you get to develop, which is great, but sometimes you have to develop out or separate, which is not the fun part. So maintaining a very professional relationship between you and your engineers is important, because if you do have to move towards a disciplinary action, you need to be able to make sure that you have been very responsible and adhere yourself to the role of your job as well as them. Does that mean that you can't have some nice conversations? No, you can still be personal. You can still share pieces of yourself with each other. You can emphasize with them. If they're going through something and you've gone through something similar, you can share that. It's just, how much are you going to share and how deep are you going to get in?
True.
There does have to be a wall. There does have to be a bit of a balance, so that
Yeah,
you're not
true.
getting too involved in each other's life.
Yeah, I
And
mean, that's the, where we used to work with, that's where, like, we kind of was um have a good, I mean, not just, we were not just like our co-workers, at least we were like almost everybody who we used to work with, like our friends. We just have go out at night, like have our small champagne, and like where we used to leave, and like it was wonderful time, like, again, I kind of miss that all the times when Friday nights and stuff like that we used to have around, things like that. But yeah, things changed where you work, where you located. Everything changed how the people who you work with. So a good point which you brought in as well. I just want to ask one more question probably, and then we are almost time. Do we have any more questions? Just want to make sure. Okay, the last question, which I'm going to just take it. Did you felt giving up any time because of the difficulty with managing family and work? So that's the last question, Heather.
That's a good question. Um, I don't think I have gotten so stressed that I felt like throwing in the towel on
Mm-hmm.
everything. But I will say there have been a few times where I have had a difficult time balancing. And at that point, I took a mental health day. And I think that's something that people don't realize you can do. We have sick days, right? Every company has a certain amount. To me, a mental health day is the same as taking off for the flu. Um, I'm I think I had at one point my son had RSV, which is he was in the children's hospital because he couldn't breathe well and he was on oxygen.
All right.
At the same time, I had multiple giant projects going on at work and I was feeling very overwhelmed. So, first things first, I communicated to my boss, let her know what was going on in my life, that my son was in the hospital, that I would need to push back the deadline on one of the projects or hand it off, right? And that's the big thing is delegation. I think we don't realize how much we can delegate out. And it's not giving up, it's not doing the work. It's saying, you know what? I can't do this right now. I'm going to have to say no,
Mm-hmm.
but I understand that there's still a deadline. Companies can run without you. You are not
Yep.
the only person that exists in that company. I work in a giant company with thousands of people and they are all talented. I am not the
Mm-hmm.
only person that can do the job. So being able
Mm-hmm.
to say, "Hey, I'm going to have my coworker focus on this. I'm going to take the day off and I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
focus on my family." I think
Right.
that's why I haven't felt like giving up is because when I get close to those points, I
You need.
communicate and I delegate.
True. That's that the one more point which again to that being a people manager is that your manager also should have been in a position that if you're not there, how the other person can fall back on the next person to make sure that continuing. That's the people manager's job as well, like there should be a backup. I mean, you need to be prepared enough to say that your employees can go for a sick leave or a mental health day, or okay, I'm not feeling good today because of I want to be attending, or I have to attend a very important function or a wedding or something which I have to go through. And but the success of the company is that whether or not there is a fallback, there is a backup which is already created if the person is not around and things can function. That is the same in the sense that 10 people company or a thousands of people company, that's where we have to make sure things are happening. So I agree with being the management skills of Red Hat. I mean, this is proving that you guys have an excellent system of getting the people things worked. Okay, so that's where most companies kind of fail, where you think that you are robots behind the desk and expected to do the job. But the human element which Red Hat is giving is absolutely amazing, I would just say. And having a people managers like you, it's going to be only make the company grow bigger. That will definitely grow bigger in terms of getting the right amount of attention and happiness which is required for a company. So I'm really happy that you have shared all your experience personally as well as the professionally. I'm hoping that if there is a way which we can associate in one way or another, being a mentor, Heather, I would be also like thinking that if there are moms or if there are women in my academy can reach out to you for, let's say, mock interviews or some other, those are the things which I would be expecting, like, and as a Heather, like, as a mentor, which whenever you have some half an hour time in your month maybe, which you can just have, okay, there's a mom in US in your area who would like to have a mock interview, which is would be better before giving the actual interview, who can help them prepare. That's something which I would like you to be part of our family of Archie's Academy. And I'm really happy, Heather, to be catching up like this. Anything before we wind up the call, like, Heather, yeah, from your side?
Um, not much. I'm very open for mock interviews. I love doing mock interviews, and I used to do them at Lakeland or at Parkland College in
Parkland
Champaign
College, yeah, yeah.
for the students. So it's something that I do love. I guess last words of wisdom as a working mom going back in, just moms out there, don't be too hard on yourselves. It is a rocky journey. You have a lot on your plate with work and learning and raising your family and being the pillar in your home. So give yourself some grace and know that you guys are all already doing a wonderful job just by attending something like Archie's Academy to invest in yourselves, and you're going to be able to do really great things.
Really appreciate that words. And like I said, like, our goal is to bring as much as moms we can and make sure that in general, not just mom, in general, everybody, and we give emphasis on this group of people. We have a group, a community inside a community, which is known as Mom Squad. We have people who are getting jobs for the first time in their life. um, so I am pretty sure that there is a lot which we can help each other out in terms of bringing this community much even bigger. And I would like to, from my bottom of my heart, really appreciate and thank you so much for spending the last 1 hour with amazing people of group of individuals. And I wish both of your boys amazing, three boys in the house, not just two, three boys in the house. And I wish you, Sam, as well, like, amazing time. And thank you so much, Heather, for your time, and really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Sam.
you.
Thank you so much. And well, thanks. Bye. With that being said, that really appreciate for listening in of our talk today with our mentor Heather from Red Hat. Um, it was an amazing session of mentorship, which most people can take and listen to and take those advices and make sure that, like, you can always thrive towards it. At Archie's Academy, we have now amazing mentors who are coming here with from Google, and Heather from Red Hat, Adobe, and we are just keep growing um, that mentoring area of it, so they can do maybe like coding interviews or helping out algorithms or things like that. So we value that the people who, even if you are not coming from any tech background, there's always a way which you can learn something from scratch. All you require to have a good consistent as well as determination heart, where you're going to put that effort consistently. And as long as if you can put an effort, we are there for you to help you out. We are there for you for to make sure that if you're making a mistake, our goal is to make sure that telling you that you are making a mistake, do in this direction. If you are doing the right job, we make sure that you're motivated to the next level. So that's who we are in terms of our academy's vision. And I would just say that to all the future trainees who are joining Archie's Academy, we have an amazing group of mentors here and trainers and an awesome community here. If you want to get in touch with it, you can always follow our social media or any platform. You can reach out in LinkedIn, you can reach out in YouTube, you can reach out to in Instagram, or email us, or go to the website. Please reach out to us how to get in touch to become a trainee at Archie's Academy. And soon we will have our next mentors who are going to come in and talk about it for similar discussions. So stay tuned with us in terms of like if you wanna listen to our mentors hours. Really appreciate. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one. Bye bye.